Hello everybody, my name is Pyrac, and in today's video, I figured I'd finally do a weapon tier list based on my personal preference, as well as its viability. In this game, all the weapons are viable, some of them are just much stronger than others, some of them are just viable. And let's go. Of course, we gotta start with the Charge Blade, it's the first one here. I generally really enjoyed Charge Blade. It's fantastic. Really good weapon, lots of fun, very strong, lots of build variety as well. As for viability, high A tier. So much damage with those Sayeds. It's very nice. Hunting Horn. Okay. This one's going straight in the middle for me. It only has one viable build and has only had one viable build for pretty much the entirety of Sunbreak. I'll throw my hours with it on screen. I've played Hunting Horn a lot. This is where it personally ranks on enjoyment for me. Some monsters I enjoy it, some I don't. As for viability, it's not quite the worst despite what people think. I have outdamaged many people with dual blades while using Hunting Horn. I don't know how that was possible, maybe they were just bad, but I have outdamaged a lot of people using Hunting Horn. It can do some monstrous damage, but only on certain matchups. So it gets a B tier. The Switch Axe. Switch Axe is also B tier. It is probably quite a bit strong, or quite a bit more enjoyable than the Hunting Horn in my opinion. You have a lot more build variety. It's a lot stronger as well. And you can kind of just throw it on and be brainless for a little bit. The counter is very satisfying. Fun weapon. As for viability, it is up there with Charge Blade. Does a lot of bloody damage. By the way, this is based on my opinion. I probably should have started with that. It is my opinion. It's up here with Charge Blade. It's very solid. Great Sword. Y'all know it was going down there. That's why this tier's here. The weapon's fantastic. It is the single strongest weapon in the entire game next to the ranged weapons, which you'll see over here. But I don't enjoy using it. There are very few matchups I actually enjoy using Greatsword on. Viability, S tier. As I said, there's literally nothing that's close to it in the game. Gunlance. Fun, S tier. Gunlance is probably the most fun I've had in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. It is a very good weapon to play around with. Unfortunately, the damage is lacking a little bit, as you'll see in the damage department on this side. But otherwise, Gunlance is extremely fun to play, and I recommend trying it out if you haven't. Reverse dashes are so fun. Viability, I'm going to say it's viable. I can't really put it much higher than that, unfortunately. Our elemental builds aren't good. Our slap builds aren't good. Poke shelling isn't good. Pretty much you have to play it normal or long, and both of them use the same playstyle. It's unfortunate, but it is down here in viable. Alright, we've got the Insect Glaive, of course. I am debating between C and B, which may shock a lot of people. If it was the start of Rise, I would have chucked it in C and don't enjoy immediately. There was a lot of things I didn't like from World to Rise's Insect Glaive, but it definitely picked it up later on, so I'm going to say it's a B tier. It's a very fun weapon. There are lots of monsters I like using Insect Glaive on. It's very good. As for viability, I'm going to say it's B tier, probably in front of Hunting Horn here. It can do a lot of damage, but you have to play grounded, or I guess you can play aerial as well. It's just a lot less consistent thanks to the aerial hitboxes in this game, but it's definitely above viable. It's very solid, does decent damage. Sword and Shield. If this was early Rise and Sunbreak, I would say probably one of the lower tiers, but I honestly quite enjoy it. So I'm going to throw it in the middle of the pack. There are very few matchups I don't enjoy Sword and Shield on. It's very solid, and the Metsu's so satisfying to use. As for viability, it's also in B tier. Again, above Hunting Horn. Hunting Horn's probably one of the lowest, if not the lowest. But yeah, Sword and Shield, pretty solid. You can get some nasty damage that might push it to A tier if you're running heroics against dragon-specific monsters. Could be very powerful. Still not as much as these two here, but it's still very nice. Hammer. If we're talking strength hammer, easily S tier. It's my favorite weapon in the game to use. It's the most enjoyable weapon to use in my opinion, so that's why it's up here in S. As for viability, if we're talking strength hammer, which is the same one that I enjoy, it is down here. It is barely viable, just behind Gunlance in my opinion, because Gunlance can do the same things as hammer, just does more damage, is more mobile, and has more options to deal damage. If we're talking courage, it's a strong A tier, like bottom of A tier. It's very solid above all of these. Courage does a lot of damage, especially with the Palamute, so I think I'll just leave it in the middle to make it fair. It's got one above it, it's got one below. It's fair. Light bowgun. This is one of my favorite weapons to use. I rarely get to use it though, because honestly, I don't think many monsters deserve to get bullied by bowguns in general. Light bowgun's very fun. Tokyo drifting to get a power buff, as well as the diversity in builds. You can run elemental, you can run sticky, even though it's not that great. You can run spread, you can run elemental. There's plenty of builds for light and heavy bowgun, which brings us to their viability. It's a ranged weapon. All of the ranged weapons are going to be up here. Spoilers. They are all ridiculously powerful, especially with elemental. Heavy bowgun, same thing. A tier. I absolutely love using the normal heavy bowgun build with normal 3 shellings. It's stupid fun, especially using shoulder tackle for mobility as well as the mech glide. It's very, very fun. Viability, high S tier. Probably, I'd say this is probably accurate. Both the bowguns are above greatsword and greatsword's just behind it, just because these two are easier to use. Lance, one of my favorite weapons in the game to use. It's fantastic. The addition of insta-block was definitely needed. It made the weapon so much more enjoyable in my opinion, and it made it quite a bit more diverse to use, even though leaping thrust is still the meta, because elemental lance is very strong. It's definitely up here with one of the most enjoyable weapons to use in my opinion. Viability-wise, I'm gonna say it's probably above... Yeah, we'll go above all of these actually. It's a high B, low A tier. Lance does some stupid high damage with elemental, spamming leaping thrusts, and it's very, very safe and reliable to use, so it's going to leave it at the top of B tier. Actually, we'll put it bottom of A. It deserves to be bottom of A tier. We've got the longsword. Again, if you'll watch my videos, you know it's down here. Recently, though, I did get somewhat decent at Harvest Moon playstyle, but only on certain matchups that I actually enjoy using the damn weapon. So I'm going to chuck it in C. That's where I think it belongs in terms of enjoyment. As for viability, this is probably going to shock a lot of people. Longsword is pretty much here. It's between Sword and Shield and Insect Glaive. At least in my opinion, its damage is between these. Would say it's also low A, but Lance is just stronger in my opinion. So that's where it belongs. Dual Blades. One of the most enjoyable weapons in the game to use, in my opinion. It's very, very easy to learn as well, which makes it quite enjoyable to use on pretty much everything in the game. As for viability, it is a very, very high A tier. I would say S tier as well. Actually, yeah, I'm going to say low S tier. Dual Blades are up there with these weapons here. It's just not quite as strong as the others. On these 3, you can get stupidly high damage. Dual Blades you can as well, but it has to be a certain matchup for it. And the monster has to be weak to what you're doing. Whereas with these 3, you can do stupid high damage without it. Oh, you can't even see the mouse. These 3 here, you can deal stupid high damage without needing a good matchup. Especially this one. Alright, and that leaves the bow. I'd say bow is a solid... Yeah, I'd say it's below, like, just B tier. Bottom of B tier, basically. I enjoyed it a lot more in base rise when we would use charging sidestep. I enjoyed that playstyle quite a bit because you had to manage stamina. You had to manage your coatings more. You had to use aerial aim, you had to use all of your kit to actually stay on the monster. But with the meta now, it's easily up here, again, ahead of Greatsword. Bow is stupidly powerful. The only thing holding it back is it doesn't have the elemental damage that these 2 monsters have with their elemental ammo, and much longer range, making it safer to use both of these. Well everyone, that has been my personal tier list for both the damage of the weapons, as well as the enjoyment, as you can see. These are the weapons I enjoy the most in this exact order. I've thought about it a decent bit. I've played a lot, as you'll see with the guild card here. And this is where they rank on damage, in my opinion. With gunlance and I would say hammer as well. But again, courage is quite powerful. Hunting horn, quite powerful. Under certain circumstances, both of these are really strong. These 3 could probably be low A tier, in all honesty. But these 2 definitely could be in the viable category. Well everybody, thank you so much for watching. And I hope to see you on the next one.